everyone, and welcome to the Sussex Handmade Soap Company. I'm Anne, and together with my business partner and good friend Wayne, we run this channel and the Sussex Handmade Soap Company. If you are a new viewer to our videos, welcome, come in, make yourself comfortable. If you've seen our videos before, you will notice that today we are changing things up just a little bit. There is a couple of changes that are coming up which will be from now on. So this is how we're going to do things from now onwards. The first change is what I hope you will see as a very positive change, and that is we are now selling the soaps that we are creating. As a lot of you know, being in the UK, we have to have every soap that we sell assessed, and that is expensive. But we've talked it out and had a little think, and we have decided it makes sense for us to actually be selling what we make on here. So we have shelled out from some assessments, and we shall be selling these creations that you see here. I know there's a lot of other people that do a monthly soap releases, and you know we're going to be jumping on that soapy bandwagon and joining in. So the soaps that we are making throughout December will be available to purchase in limited numbers on our website from the 1st of January 2021. Yay! And the second thing we're changing, which I'm sure might receive a few mixed reviews, is we shall actually be scenting these limited edition soaps, majority with fragrance oils. We had a long, hard discussion about whether or not to do this, and it really was a tough decision because our company is about being natural, and up until now everything has always been 100% natural, scented with essential oils, coloured with plant extracts, and we weren't sure whether it would be a good idea to change that or not, but we did a little bit of market research and found that a lot of people actually did want the opportunity to purchase some that have been scented with fragrance oils because they wanted those kind of berry smells, the watermelon, the strawberry, the cucumber, the smells that you can't get with essential oils. And the other reason we decided to go with fragrance oils is because if we're trying to release 4 soaps a month continually, we're going to run out of smells very, very quickly if we use essential oils only. So we searched high and low, and we found some fragrance oils that we are happy to use. Some nice, you know, they're safe synthetic oils is what they are. And the fragrance oils we use are completely paraben and phthalate free, so there is none of those in there. And it's a little bit of a gamble for us, but you know, you've got to take a gamble in life sometimes, and I've tested these and I'm happy to use them on my skin, and I think they smell really nice. Anyway, on to today's bar, because I have waffled so much about the changes that are coming. Today we are making a Velvet Peony and Oud scented soap, and we are colouring it naturally. That is one thing I should say. Our colourants will remain completely natural as well, because I know some of you guys like to recreate what you've seen us doing, so we will keep the colourants natural because that's something you can physically see us doing, and if you copy it you want to be able to be using the natural colourants that we've been using. We'll also be giving you kind of essential oil ideas if you do want to use an essential oil in place of a fragrance oil. So I think today I'm recommending rose geranium. But anyway, I digress from where I need to be. We are making a Velvet Peony and Oud. We are colouring it naturally with activated charcoal, madder powder and red Moroccan clay. And we are topping it with some pretty rose petals. And this is a design that I think looks and smells fab. And if you agree, remember, you can always purchase a bar from January. Don't worry, I'm not going to be pushing the sales side of things constantly. It's just because I'm excited because this is the first time that we've actually had soaps on here that we are releasing specially as a range, and it's exciting me. But anyway, let's move on. Let's watch the soap making. So today we're using our big old cauldron pan because we're actually using a different mould for these soaps, which is larger, and therefore we need a bigger pan to be able to fit all of our oils and lye solution in. And I've got all of our oils here melted already, and we're just going to add in our lye water. And today we're working at a temperature of around about 118 degrees Fahrenheit. I know it's a fairly high temperature. I know a lot of people do soap lower, but this temperature kind of works for us, and it helps to the soap to actually gel as well, which is what we want. So we're going to bring this to a emulsion today. We don't want it thick because we are going to be stick blending it later on when we get those colours in. So we're just going to start by just bringing it to emulsion, which shouldn't take long at all. So now this is at a very nice light emulsion, and what we're going to do now is add in our fragrance oil, and we are actually using today Velvet Peony Oud fragrance from Candle Shack. I have checked the IFRA document. This is suitable for soap, and I've checked the actual allowable percentage that we can use. So I've checked all of that because obviously it is from a candle making website, so not all of their fragrances will necessarily be suitable for soap. So you do want to check the IFRA documents just to check that it is okay. And that's the fragrance oil there, which I'm going to pop in now. And it's a really beautiful fragrance. It's kind of floral, which you'd expect from the peony, but it's also kind of a very deep, kind of intense fragrance. It's very strong, and I'm using 40 grams for this whole batch. And we're going to just mix this in carefully and gently to make sure it gets fully incorporated. If you don't want to use fragrance oils, you can obviously leave the soap unscented, or a nice substitution, I think, would be something like a rose geranium essential oil. I think that would actually also work really well in this soap. And once we've mixed this fragrance oil in, we're going to split off 400 grams of the batter into a separate jug, and then we're going to work with the remainder first to create our first red layer of soap. So I've now split off 400 grams, which I'm going to keep to the side for later, and we're now going to colour this portion. And for colouring today, we are sticking with natural colours. We have got 8 grams of madder root powder and 8 grams of red Moroccan clay, and we have just hydrated them with a little bit of the water taken from the water that we created our lye water with. So I'm going to tip these into here, scraping them out because these little glasses do require a bit of scraping to make sure that all of that colour is out. And I hydrated the madder powder and the clay with water just because it helps them to incorporate a little bit better. Now we're going to go back to our stick blender, and we're going to use a stick blender just to make sure that this colour is really nicely dispersed in the batter. I find with clays that they do need a fair bit of whizzing and blending just to make sure that they actually get incorporated really nicely. So we're going to whiz it up to a medium sort of trace today. So as you can see, we've now got a lovely medium to thick kind of trace going on here. So we're going to put in our mould, and we're going to get this lower layer poured out now. So today we are using the £5 wooden mould from Brambleberry. I did actually get it from the Brambleberry site. I did pay the shipping and customs charges getting it over here, which weren't cheap, but kind of worth it because this is the exact mould that I wanted. And we're just going to pour this all into here. As you can see, it's already changed colour from that madder powder that we had earlier. It's going a gorgeous kind of cherry red colour. I'm just going to scrape down the mould now and get, scrape down the pan and get the rest of it into the mould. So now I've got this in the mould, I'm just going to give it a few nice firm taps down on the board so that it kind of hopefully levels out and any air bubbles that are in that batter get released. Now we're going to pop this to one side to firm up for a little while, and then we're going to bring it back and do some texturing before we add in the next layer. And while we wait for that layer to set up, we're actually going to colour the next layer, which is going to be the top portion of the soap, the 400 grams that we reserved earlier. And for that, we're going to be using activated charcoal, and we've got 4 grams of activated charcoal in here. And again, we have hydrated it with some warm water that was taken out of the weighed amount of water to be mixed with the lye. Now we're just going to mix this black in, just making sure that it is fully incorporated. I was thinking about using the stick blender here, but to be honest, I don't think it's really going to be needed. I tend to reserve the stick blender for mixing in clays because they tend to take a little more working, but I find activated charcoal tends to blend in quite nicely. So looks like that is looking good now. So we'll pull back in the mould and we shall texture that lower layer. So we've left this for about 10 minutes or so, and it has now firmed up enough for us to texture the top, and for that we're just going to be using this little teaspoon measuring spoon, and all I'm doing is just going in with the back of the spoon and just kind of pushing down and pulling up all up the length of the bar, just to add a little bit of texture, a little bit of interest. You don't have to do this step if you don't want to, but you know, it's up to you. I just think it looks nice, and I think it helps to give the final bars just a kind of added bit of interest. There we go, all done. Now we're going to grab that black layer and we're going to just pour it all over the top. So even though the black's been left for a while the loaf has been setting up, it is still quite nice and liquid and workable because we didn't use a stick blender to actually thicken the trace anymore. And all I'm going to do is just pour over the spatula, just so that the black layer doesn't break through the red below. I mean, I don't think it would. I don't think it's, I think that bottom layer is pretty nicely set up, so it shouldn't do. But just in case, we'll just go over the spatula with the black, just completely covering that red layer. I love how the black looks. It's such a satisfying colour, so glossy, so almost reflective, really. I just think it looks so good on the top of soaps like this. And then scraping gently just to get those last bits out and make sure that all of that batter is in the mould. And it does result in a very full mould, but that's okay. It just means more soap. And who can complain at having an extra bit of soap? Not me, that's for sure. There we go. All we're going to do now is leave this for probably another, say, 5-10 minutes for the black layer to firm up enough for us to be able to texture it. Then we're going to texture the top. Now, as if by magic, the loaf is all set up and ready to texture. I can't remember how long we actually left it for. I kind of lost track of time, but I did manage to get all of the cleaning up done whilst this was setting up. So I suppose it's been about 10-15 minutes. And all we're going to do is take a regular teaspoon. And for texturing today, I'm going to start at the edges here, and I'm basically just pulling the teaspoon into the middle and up, and then slightly to my left as well, just to kind of texture the top. I'm changing my grip position. So in, up, and a little to the left. Like so, all the way down the loaf. Just going to cover that bit there where the red became a little bit exposed. And now we're at the end, we're just going to turn the loaf around. And then we're going to repeat the same process down the other side. So pulling it in to meet in the middle. And it's always fun kind of texturing the tops like this, and I do think a textured top, just a simple texturing technique like this, does actually make such a difference to how the final soap looks. I mean, how you texture the top can completely change the look of an entire soap, which is why I like playing around with different textures and different ideas and different things for the top. There we go. Now I'm just going to run down the centre of the soap, just gently kind of pressing it down a little. Don't know why I'm doing this. There's no real need to be doing this. I think I just like playing. There we go. Now the final thing for today is some rose petals to finish the top off, and we have got 2.5 grams of rose petals here. Because we're selling this soap and because it needs to be assessed, we do need to use the actual correct weight. We can't just throw them on willy-nilly. We have to actually weigh and record how many we're using. So we have got 2.5 grams measured here, and I'm just going to sprinkle these along the centre of the soap where we brought it to that peak. And I know a lot of people say with rose petals that they do kind of fade to brown in soap. And that is true. If you're using them inside the soap batter, they will go brown and they won't look very nice at all. We never use them inside soap for that pure reason. And if you use them on the top, some people do still say that they do fade to brown. And what I found is that if I'm using light coloured rose petals, like a pale pink, they do tend to go brown and they don't look very nice, if I'm being honest. But if we use these darker petals, so these really kind of cerise petals, I do find that they tend to hold their colour fairly well. You do get the odd one that goes brown. And I mean, you can see some of these have got a slight browny yellow tint to them already, but the main colour here is still that nice pink colour. And I do find that the darker the rose petal, the more likely they are not to go brown as the soap cures. That's just my personal experience. Other people may completely disagree with that, but I can only tell you how things kind of go for us, and that's how it works for us. There we go, so we've got all those rose petals on now, and the soap is ready to be put to one side for saponification to take place. And anyone who's watched my videos in the past will know that when I'm using natural colourants, I always like to ensure they go through gel phase. I like to force the gel phase with them, just so the colours pop and look nice and bright and last longer in the final soaps. And usually I do that by popping it in an oven that has been warmed and then turned off. And that tends to work pretty well. However, today I'm not going to use that method for two reasons. The first being that this fragrance oil is quite strong. Obviously we're used to essential oils and the fragrance is definitely stronger. And I think if I put this in my oven, it's going to make my oven smell. And I don't want to be tasting soap when, I'm trying to eat my tea later on. So I don't want to use the oven for that reason, and even if I did want to use my oven is actually too small for me to get this whole loaf in nicely. So we need to think of another method. And luckily I have got a seed propagator upstairs. It's kind of a little contraption with a plastic lid, kind of like a mini greenhouse, but it is heated and it is temperature controlled. So I'm going to pop my loaf into my seed propagator and I'm going to set the temperature of that to 30 degrees centigrade, and I find that that actually helps the soaps to go through gel phase and kind of just works, and then I'm not kind of tainting my oven or my cooking areas with smells of fragrance oils, and it just works nicely. Obviously that's only going to work if you've got a seed propagator, which I'm guessing a lot of you probably haven't, but if you haven't got one, then you could pop this into a nice large cardboard box and then insulate that box with a towel over the top and perhaps pop it next to a radiator, something like that. But as I say, I'm babbling away now. There's not really any reason to still be talking, so perhaps I should just shut up and come back tomorrow when this is ready to cut. Yeah, that's a good idea. Let's do that.
Cut.
Cut. So we are back. It has been 24 hours since we made this soap and it is now ready for cutting. And look what I have got. We have finally invested in a soap cutter. I feel like a proper soap maker now. This thing is amazing. It has shaved so much time off of all the cutting of bars we have to do, and I am a little bit in love with its glorious green self. So I can actually show you me cutting the soap with a proper cutter rather than with a knife now. And we've got the loaf just here, and because it has got flowers on top, we are going to turn it carefully onto its side for cutting, like so. And I'm just going to line it up, and we should get 16 bars of soap out of this. This only actually cuts 15, so I'll need to do the last one separately, but it's good enough for me. So let's go. I'm just going to pull this down. I was surprised at how much force it actually takes to get through the bars when I first did this, but I kind of got used to it now, and this loaf is still pretty soft, so it's going through nicely. There we go. How easy was that? So much easier than doing it with a knife. And we can pull out a bar from just here to show you what the inside looks like. There we go, that is the inside of today's soap. As you can see, we have got a few slight drag marks in the top up here from the rose petals. Because it's soft, I am just kind of rubbing them a little bit, hoping to kind of make them a little less visible. But that is how today's soap has turned out. And the smell is absolutely beautiful. If I was kind of some, you know, perfumery advertiser person, I could say it invokes feelings of, you know, a mystical walk through forests or some kind of spiel like that. But I'm not. I am a regular person, so I'm just going to say it smells nice. It's got a little floral hint to it, but it's not too strong now that it's in the actual soap. And Wayne actually said that this one, to him, smells like classic bath time. Whatever that means. I think he said it's like when you're young and your mum runs you a bath and it's that smell that fills the bathroom. That is what this scent reminds him of. We've got the roses on top there. We've got a little tiny bit of soda ash, but nothing too noticeable. So we're pretty happy with today's design. Yeah, looking and smelling good. So I'm so happy with how these are looking and smelling. I really, really love this design. And the bonus is that these colourants don't really fade either. They'll fade a little bit, but not a lot. And to prove that, this soap here is the one we made yesterday. And this one is one that I made 2 weeks ago. And as you can see, the colours are holding really well at the moment. And the smell is just really, really beautiful. It is. It's that, you know, to quote Wayne, it is classic bath time fragrance. So these will be available in our shop from the 1st of January. We have got limited quantities available. I think we're starting with about 30 of each bar just to see how things go. So if you want one, you know what to do. You can visit our website here and you can even use our discount code, which is here to get 20% off. Yay! So, if you enjoy our videos, please do give us a like, subscribe if you haven't already, and hit that notification bell. We will see you next week when we shall be creating another beautiful soap. I was going to tell you what it was then, but then I realised that I can't remember which one I'm doing next week, so we're doing another beautiful soap. There you go, that's my cop-out, and we shall see you then. Bye!